Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's meeting of the Policy and Resources Committee. Just a reminder that the meeting is being recorded and will be live streamed, and we have some members attending remotely. Can I ask if we have any apologies or substitutes?
Yes, Convener, we have an apology from Councillor Wan, with Councillor Fotheringham substituting.
Thank you. Do we have any declarations of interest or statements of transparency? Don't see any. So we'll move on to item 3, which is approval of minutes. The minutes of the meeting of the 30th of January. Are they approved? Thank you. Item 4 is the possible exclusion of public and press, and that relates to items 11 to 17 on the agenda. Do we have agreement in terms of Standing Order 27.2 whether the public and press should be excluded? Thank you. Item 5 is the Non-Domestic Rates Appeals Subcommittee. We are required to set up a subcommittee with 3 members. The first 2 members are myself, the convener, and the vice convener of the PNR committee, and I'm looking for a 3rd member. Do we have any victims?
Thank you. Yeah. I propose Councillor Ross Gregg for that position.
Do we have a seconder?
Thank you. Yes.
Are you happy to do that, Councillor Gregg? Thank you. Okay, on to item 6, which is the Common Good Fund's Revenue Budget 24-25 and Provisional Budgets for 25-26 and 26-27. And I'll over to Mr Daly. Thank you.
Thank you and good afternoon. The Council's Common Good Fund policy guidelines and administrative procedures requires the setting of the annual Common Good Fund's budget, which should also include indicative budgets for income and expenditure projections for the following year, 2 years. Members are asked to agree the Common Good Fund's budgets for 2024-25 and the budget bids as are detailed in Appendix C of the report. I would reference members to the appendices which provide further detail on the budgets of each of the common good funds. The local members were consulted regarding the projects and budget bids that were put forward, and the views of the local members again are presented in the appendices. Thank you, Convener.
Thank you. Do we have any questions on this report? No. Any comments? No, I don't see any. So we'll go straight to the recommendations. There are quite a few recommendations detailed in the papers. We're asked to note, approve, note, and note. Are those agreed? Agreed. Thank you. Moving on to item 7, which is the Local Authority COVID-19 Economic Recovery LACER Funding Report. And I will pass on to Alison Smith, please.
Thank you, Convener, and apologies I can't be there in person today. This is the regular report updating on spend against the Scottish Government Local Authority COVID-19 Economic Recovery Funding, known as LACER. This gives an overview of where we are in terms of spend against the various allocations that were previously made. Also provides an update, particularly with reference to the town centre economic growth monies which were allocated, and noting how this has been used to support discretionary grants to support businesses who continue to recover from the impacts of Storm Babet.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions on this report? Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Alison. I'm just wondering at some point if it would be possible to get some case studies on from businesses that have perhaps benefited from funding to support them and what a difference it's made. Thank you.
Yes, of course. We started already to gather some feedback. We have some emails just of thanks and showing us how that's been done. But absolutely, as we work through gathering the valuation of back end, we can develop some good case studies there of how that's actually helped.
Thank you. Councillor Speed.
Thanks, Convener. Yeah, in relation to Appendix 1, Project Child Poverty, I note that only £31,803.25 has been spent so far, with 129 grants provided. I accept that monies are being used for Storm Babette cases. However, I just wondered if we could not get maybe more of these monies allocated out to assist people that are suffering from the cost of living crisis within Angus. And my kind of other question to that is just maybe a bit of an explanation around what promotion of these funds has there been, and how easy is it for people to access these payments?
I think Victoria Gibbons might be online and she'd be able to give you some specifics in terms of the promotion that's been done, but noting that obviously this is not an open grant scheme as such, it is based on a referral process, but I'll hand over to Victoria just to talk a little bit more how that is done.
Thank you, Alison, for the question, Councillor Speed. So with regards to this funding, this is distributed through our welfare rights team, and as with the welfare rights funding that's available, it's not something that's openly promoted. The service itself is something that's promoted. This particular fund was to be used as a sort of last point of resort for anybody who wouldn't qualify for any of the other funding that was available. So it really is truly an emergency crisis fund where no other funding is available for these people. We have had previous conversations actually about how quickly the funds are being utilised, and we've discussed this with our welfare rights team, and they have assured us that the monies are being used and are absolutely necessary for supporting people who would not have any other access to support. They'd given us a few case studies, which I think I'd shared maybe through the monthly LACER updates, but we're more than happy to gather some more evidence for you to explain how the funds are being utilised and the benefit of these funds to the people who are using them. With the LACER funding, there's no deadline for using the funds either, so we can carry the monies forward into future financial years to continue using. I have specifically asked for information about how the funds have been used to support Storm Babette, and there's some information there with some figures included in the report. I'm more than happy to pull a more detailed report about this if that would be helpful. And of course, if you wish to discuss at all with myself or with Kim, then absolutely invite a meeting so we can have a chat offline and bring some further information to you.
That's great. Yes. Thanks, Victoria. That's great, and that would be really helpful, and I would definitely take up that opportunity to have a meeting to discuss further.
Thank you, and yeah, thanks, Victoria. That was really useful. Do we have any further questions? Any comments? No. We'll move to the recommendations, and they are all for noting. Is the report agreed? Thank you. Next, we move on to the item 8, the Shared Apprentice Limited cessation of scheme, and I'll pass back to Alison.
Thank you. Yeah, so we're bringing forward this report of the Scottish Government review of the criteria on which the Shared Apprentice Limited scheme that we've been operating has been working to, and subsequently as a result of that review, confirming a decision that the shared apprenticeship scheme should cease as of the 31st of March 2024, and therefore the steps that we are undertaking to wind up the company and support the apprentices who are finishing their apprenticeships at the moment.
Thank you, and it's actually quite a sad one to see coming forward to us, but out of our hands. Do we have any questions on this one? No. Any comments? Councillor Brace.
Yes, thanks, Convener. I think it is very sad that it's come to an end. I think that there still is a clear need to get shared apprenticeships of some kind back up and running, and I really hope that there will be something that's coming. It might not be very similar to the scheme we've had, but I hope there will be something though. Thanks.
Thank you. If there are no more comments, move to recommendations. And again, this report is for noting. Is this agreed? Thank you. Next item is the annual procurement report, item number 9, and pass over to Alison.
Thank you, Convener. Members, this report presents to committee the Council's statutory annual procurement report and details the Council's procurement activity from April 2022 to March 2023. It records the Council's achievements in delivering its procurement strategy and is produced in accordance with Scottish Government guidance, covering the information required by legislation and that guidance. As members will also be aware, at Council in December, new procurement standing orders were approved, and it is intended that an update on implementation of those will be provided to committee in due course, and at that time additional information on our procurement and commissioning activity will be provided, feeding into existing work streams such as the Council's performance indicators. Committee is being asked to note the report and to agree that it's published on the Council's website and submitted as our annual statutory return to Scottish Government. And my colleague Alison Gallagher, our Procurement and Commissioning Manager, has joined remotely, and we're happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions? Any comments? Councillor Speed.
Yeah, thank you. I've got a few questions, Convener, if that's okay. I can go through the sections, the section numbers, and read them out if that's okay.
Okay.
So, in relation to Appendix 1 and the National Care Home contract negotiations, I just wondered if officers could perhaps provide a kind of live overview of where negotiations are at this time, out with the kind of briefings that we've had to date. There might be new updates there. Also, in relation to Section 3, it says that new staff for procurement and agreement has been given to full-time staff and to temporary staff. And I just wondered if seeking a bit of clarity as to whether the expectation is that these officers will save more monies than their salaries, if those positions are looked to kind of generate an income. And also with regards to Section 4, my question would be, why are we receiving such low numbers for submissions for each tender? And what are we going to do to increase interest and competition? And finally, with regards to Appendix 1, Section 10, moving forward, it states that the procurement team is actively involved in the redesign of Angus Council's P2P project. My question is, with regards to the purchase to pay, this was first reported to Angus Council advising of savings of £1.5 million in 2016, with completion expected in 2017. Since then, the savings have been delayed in 2018, reprofiled in 2019-20 to £135,000, and in 1920 a reduction to £75,000, and in 2021 realigned again to £65,000, and £150,000 marked against 2021, and then changed again to 50 in 2022-23 and 100k in 23-24 according to the council reports and plans. I just wondered if officers could explain how PT2P is working, having been on the agenda since 2016, and how much savings has the council made through this project, and how quickly are we paying invoices through the system now?
Thanks, Councillor Speed. And just to give you a wee reminder, you're more than welcome to email officers prior to the meeting if you have detailed questions or quite a number of questions, just to streamline the meeting itself. But I'll pass over to Alison
Thank you, Councillor Speed. I think there's a few officers here that can answer those questions. The first one you had on the National Care Home contract, I'll pass over to John Cooper.
Thank you. I'm aware that discussions have been happening on a Tayside-wide basis in relation to this, and I know that Scottish Care have been speaking with independent care home providers seeking a collective view in this. So I'm happy to take forward an action to contact Nicky Worrell from Scottish Care to provide an update in relation to that from a Tayside, but also from an Angus perspective. I hope that's helpful at this time.
Yeah, thank you.
The next question, Councillor Speed, was around the new staff and the contribution to savings. So I think this case put forward for the new staff is in relation to efficiency, in relation to procurement across all services of the council and the assistance that can be provided. Also, we've got a community benefits officer position as well. So obviously looking not just at savings, but how procurement can contribute both in relation to community benefits, economic development, and the change programme and savings that can be made through that. So there's no specific target, but certainly that for the efficiency of procurement across the organisation. The third question you had was about the low number of tenders and submissions that we've received. And if I could pass over to Alison Gallagher, she could provide some information about that. I know we've been doing a lot of work with local suppliers, but Alison can provide that detail.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for that, Alison. I should apologise in advance with my screen. I think you can probably all see me, but I can't actually see you. So apologies if I'm not picking up any facial expressions as I'm going through. Just also quickly, if you don't mind, if I could touch on the previous points made. With regards to the National Care Home contract, those negotiations have actually been successfully concluded since the period to which that report referred to. But John Cooper's absolutely correct. The three authorities are in close negotiations with the continuation of a successful negotiation period with it. We do know it's a bit of turmoil within the sector, and we're working up contingency plans just so we're not in the situation we were in over a year ago. And with regards to the new staff that are coming on board, absolutely, we're looking to roll out the new procurement processes, which themselves will result in increased compliance and savings as a result. With regard to the low tender submissions, this is something that my team are working closely with Mark Davidson and his team in economic development to try and ease. We're looking to move away from relying on national meet the buyer events and looking to have a more Angus focus specifically about our individual procurements, the local market specific to us, to encourage uptake of the procurement process in general, but also the systems engagement with the people within the teams to try and eke up those numbers. It's a matrix we're looking to have a closer viewpoint on as we report on things going forward.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think Ian Lorimer is going to come in as regards P2P.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, elected members. Yes, in relation to P2P, a very challenging project, I think it would be fair to say, that has suffered. The project was really kicked off just prior to the pandemic, and was essentially stalled during much of the time during COVID. There are two main strands to the P2P rollout. One is in relation to staffing, and that involved a full-scale service review and bringing a number of different teams together. That was concluded probably getting on for about 18 months or so ago now. So that piece of the work has been done and is in place. The second bit, which is every bit more challenging, is in relation to the systems aspects of it. So we now have the technology deployed. That was tricky in a few areas in terms of its integration with the rest of the Integris suite, but that is now in place. And where we're at now is essentially rolling that system out on a service-by-service basis to each individual area of the council. So it's not been fully deployed yet, Councillor Speed, but there is a plan and a timetable to deliver that. It's been one of those projects that's suffered from other priorities and other things taking time, both in terms of the core team and our IT team's available resource. Particularly during the pandemic, but even since then, there's been other things to be dealt with. But we're well on the way now to delivering the full rollout. So I hope that answers the question.
Just a further comment, if I may, Convener. And
Yeah, briefly.
yeah, it was just that the trail back to the report starts in 2016-17 and the pandemic was in 2018-19. So
Yeah. Sorry, through you, convener.
Sorry, 1920, sorry, I think the pandemic was. But the report and the delivery of it was meant to be in and around 2017.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't traced back all of that. You've obviously done your research ahead of today. The project didn't essentially start, although it may have been in the change programme from some time back. It didn't really start in earnest until just prior to the pandemic. And as I say, the staffing element was the key part. Initially, that has now all been dealt with. And it's really the system element that's the last remaining part of it. I won't deny that it's taken too long to get that project done. As I say, it has suffered from a number of resourcing challenges over a long period of time. And you know, we have had a number of discussions around the senior officer table about that, and indeed probably only about a month and a half or so ago we had a detailed discussion around the timetabling of concluding that project. But as I say, it has suffered from resources being taken away for a number of other things over that period. However, by the end of this calendar year, most of the rollout should be complete according to the last timetable that I saw.
Thank you for that. Do we have any further questions? Any comments? Don't see any. So I'll go to recommendations. We're asked to note the report and authorise its publication. Is that agreed? Agreed. Thank you. On to item 10, which is the Angus Community Planning Partnership Annual Performance Report. And this was discussed and scrutinised at Scrutiny and Audit Committee last week, but I will pass it on to Alison Smith.
Thank you, Convener. I'm pleased to bring forward the Community Planning Performance Report for 2022-23, which, as you say, was also presented to Scrutiny and Audit Committee last week on the 7th of March. It includes the 2022-23 Community Learning and Development Outcome Report and the Bright Start Futures Report and 2-year action plan for tackling child poverty in Angus. This report, however, also seeks approval of £175,000 of the one-off top-up LASER monies of £275,000, which were approved as part of the budget setting in February 2023 for 2023-24 to deliver on the Bright Futures Action Plan. The Community Planning Performance Report was delayed due to staff moves and changes last year, but we are on track to present the 23-24 report in October 24. This report covers the first year of the 8-year plan, which developed following engagement with partners and service providers. As you'll be aware, community planning is a statutory responsibility of each local authority, which enables public bodies to work together with local communities to design and deliver better services that make a real difference in people's lives. The report details the vast partnership working in Angus from that period, from the various steering groups that feed into the priorities of the plan and the wealth of activity delivered to achieve the community planning vision. The Community Planning Board is committed to ensuring that partnership working continues to be strengthened and that actions are evidence-based and outcome-focused. The cost of living and recovery from COVID-19 and the storms has taken its toll in our community and poverty is on the rise. However, we are now confident we're engaging and understanding the gaps required in service delivery as we move forward to continue to deliver for our communities. There are various partners available today to answer questions on the report, or we will be happy to revert with specific answers after the committee if required.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions on the report? Councillor Duff.
Yeah, thanks, Convener. Just one figure or two figures on page 107, which is performance measures. I think it's sort of salary levels, residence-based and workforce-based. If you look at the tables, I'm just suggesting that two of the figures maybe were transposed because the residence-based figures are higher than the workforce-based, but not for 22-23. It just looks like the two numbers maybe have been mixed up. I just caught my eye when I was looking through it a couple of days ago, but I'm happy to be corrected, but I just wonder whether that's correct or not. It's the figure 637 and 682 look like they should be the other way around, just from looking at the table, but maybe not.
Yes, thank you. In terms of those, oh, sorry, I'm getting an echo coming back on myself. Yes, those figures are currently being reviewed, and there were a number of queries raised at scrutiny and audit as well regarding those figures, particularly around the targets and where that's some of them being set actually below the baseline. However, there's a full review of those figures being undertaken, but we'll just double check if that's just been transposed, the figures there. As I say, they are currently all under review.
Thank you. Any further questions? Any comments? Okay, we'll move to recommendations. We're asked to note the report, note the Bright Futures Report and Action Plan, note the Learning and Development Plan, improve the use of means of 5,000 referred to, and delegate authority for improving the distribution of means of funds. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Can I do a point of order?
Yes, you can.
I don't know if this is just me at home, but the sound's really bad at my end, and it's really crackly. And Beth, you sound like you're sort of in a toilet. Would maybe be the easiest way to describe it. And there's a big echo. It's not like the echo if the mics are on. So I don't know if you need to just try your mics again and see what's going on.
We're getting messages from other people as well that they haven't seen problems.
Not shaking our heads.
Some people are all right and some people are having similar issues with the I don't know if there's much we can do about it. Keep an eye on the mics. Thank you. We're going to reset the system as we go into private session.
John, could you stop the live stream, please?